The actual topic on Module 1 is actually about choosing your territory. And we could have called it that, but I purposely did not because I want you to have the right mindset around this. So what we're going to refer to this as selecting your hunting ground, which is that first test of an operator. Let me slow this down for a minute because what I'm about to share with you sounds simple, and simple things are usually where amateurs make their big mistakes. Before deals, before contracts, or before even letters or negotiations or even cash flow, there is one decision that is going to quietly determine whether this entire decision becomes effortless or painfully uphill. And that decision is where you choose to hunt. Territory is not a detail. It's also not an afterthought. It is going to be that foundation that's going to come next. Because if you choose that wrong territory, I've noticed that no amount of hustle is going to be able to save you. I also noticed that then you just start chasing sellers and then they don't even respond. So I also ran into a challenge where you negotiate with owners that don't care. And then you begin to wonder why nothing converts. I don't want that to happen to you guys. So I'm going to teach you how to choose the right territory. And when you do that, suddenly everything downstream is going to then start working with you versus against you. This is why I say that Module 1 matters more than most people realize. I think that sometimes when we first start off, we want to rush through things. Look, I'm going to encourage you that a real operator is not going to rush through this because that territory really does matter. This is why I want to reframe where your mindset. Now that you've stepped into this business, you're not just looking for land, guys. We're choosing a geographic system that is either going to produce velocity or friction. Let me tell you what velocity looks like because I've seen it. It looks like sellers responding quickly. It looks like prices that make sense, buyers that already exist, and deals that are going to move without force. Now, let me also share with you what friction looks like because I've also dealt with this. And quite simply, here's what it's going to look like. Dead inboxes, confused sellers, maybe also wild price swings. And then it just seems like it's an endless follow-up. And then there's no payoff. And here's the part that I used to miss. It has nothing to do with your skill level, but it does have to do with where you're operating. Your job in this module is not to find the perfect deal. It's to find a county where those deals naturally occur. Because when land is already trading hands, now you're no longer creating demand. You're just inserting yourself into that existing flow. And that, my friend, is leverage. You also want to identify heat zones. In other words, where that money actually moves. Inside every county, I've noticed that there's pockets, guys. I've also noticed that not all land is equal. Dude, not even close. So whenever you start seeing patterns that look like 18,000, 19,500, 17,800, 21,000, maybe 19,200, and that's all in that same area, guys, that is not random. That's what I call a heat zone. That is the place where buyers agree to value. This is where your offers hit with accuracy. If pricing is scattered all over the place, then that tells me that that's instability. And instability is friction. Just move on. Up until now, you've been studying terrain. From this day forward, we're going to be studying people because land is not going to sell itself, but owners do. And the truth that most people never learn is that not all owners are sellers, and not all sellers are reachable. Your success in this business will not determine by how many letters you send, but by who you send them to. This model is going to teach you how to identify weak hands, owners that already won out, even if they haven't admitted it yet. This is where amateurs spray and pray. But operators like us that are part of the Underground Club, we select with intent. And let's correct a fundamental misunderstanding. As I said, I don't want you to market land. You're marketing to circumstance. Life events create sellers. Time creates sellers. Distance creates sellers. And even neglect creates sellers. And then your job is to find those owners whose relationship with that land is already loosened a bit. Because when you convince someone to buy land that they love, then that's going to be expensive. You buy land from someone that's tired of owning it, and now that's effortless because now you're not asking for permission. I now want to move on to what I call the 5 seller profiles that matter. There are 5 categories of sellers that convert. And this is not a theory. This is an actual pattern that I have noticed. That first one is that out-of-state owner. Distance erodes attachment. When someone owns land that is hundreds or thousands of miles away, guess what? They also don't visit it, and they probably don't use it. And they probably don't emotionally defend it. To them, it's paperwork. It's not a property. That is the seller. That is the second thing. Number 2, long-term owners, meaning 10 plus years. Here's why I say to target them. Because time is going to change the priorities. I've noticed that land bought years ago for a dream then is going to become a tax bill, a maintenance concern, and it's also a reminder to them of a plan that never happened. Long ownership plus inactivity equals latent. Let me move on to the third one, tax delinquent owners. This is not about distress. It's more about irritation. Unpaid taxes, to me, signals disengagement, procrastination. It might even mean avoidance. It means that that land has now become a burden. That's what I'm able to pick up. Let me move on to the fourth one. Inherited, meaning estate-related ownership or estate land. It's rarely desired land because there's multiple heirs. There's no plan. It's like an emotional neutrality. And what I've noticed is these owners aren't offended by these offers. They're relieved by them. Move on to the fifth one. Sellers of small unused parcels, especially 5-acre lots, meaning small parcels. They're harder to build on. They produce no income, and then they just sit forgotten. They're perfect candidates for quiet liquidation. Let me also talk about what you're not going to be looking for. I want to save you months of frustration. You're not targeting developers who are actively developing or land flippers that are actively advertising or fresh buyers with emotional attachment or even owners that are living next to the parcel. I don't like people like that because they're going to defend the value. You want to find owners who have already let go, even subconsciously. I probably think it would be a good idea for me to talk about how I built that list because it isn't complicated, guys, but it does have to be precise. That list needs to be built using tax assessor data, tax GIS records, ownership roles. In your base filters is going to be vacant land owner, individual owners, not LLCs at first, out of county or mailing addresses, minimum ownership duration, 5 to 10 years. Maybe also optional tax delinquency overlay. That's not a massive list exercise. Let's just do a quality exercise. A tight list is going to beat a massive one every time. The reason I say that smaller list wins, here's where I got this wrong, and I think that a lot of beginners do. They think that scale comes first. It doesn't, guys. Precision is what comes first, and then scale is going to come second. So a list of 100 correct owners is going to outperform 1,000 random ones because response rate is not luck. It's just math, and math is going to reward relevance. Let's also talk about the advantage that you're going to have. When you mail that right owner, sellers are going to respond faster, negotiations are cleaner, resistance is lower, confidence stays high. And this is how you avoid burnout before that first deal. I want you to build momentum by design. On that note, I said that I want to help you with this. So I'm also going to give you Your assignment, your task for Module 2. I want you to build one clean list, one target, one county, one seller profile. Start with out-of-state owners, vacant land only. Do not optimize, and I do not want you to stack filters yet, because I also don't want you to overbuild. We're instead going to build a list that makes sense. And once that list is complete, we're then going to move to Module 3. And that's where we're going to start calculating value without emotion.